What's up, everybody? Welcome to Based. Just wanted to do a run through of my pedal board. I've thought really long and hard about it, and I think it's pretty cool. So maybe you like it too. Okay, so full disclosure, I did not wire and solder all of this myself. My friend Jonathan McCowan, who is amazing, did all of it, and I'm very thankful for him. Some of the things we chose were things he preferred and things we brainstormed about, so I just want to make sure to give him credit. Getting into this, I consider the Noble DI an integral part of my sound, and it sounds amazing just plugging right into it. You know, a lot of times an amp might sound better if you're not going through all this crap, that you're just going straight into it. There really is something to that. So I wanted to get the shortest signal path from the input of the board, hit a tuner, and then it hits the Noble. So on the side inputs, I have an input, and then I have a Noble DI XLR out, so that I can just do a clean signal. So when I show up at a studio, and they see this big, huge pedal board, and they're like, I don't want you to run through all that. I want your signal to be cleaner or less noisy, that kind of thing. I can say, don't worry about it. I'm only using the tuner into the Noble, and then I go out. Okay, so second thing. So this is stepping down the path a little farther. I still want to be really conscious of my signal, and I still want to route it really well. So the next thing after the Noble is my pedal switcher. The pedal switcher helps isolate the circuitry and all the instrument cable length from the rest of the board. So I know when I'm stepping on, maybe my Boss OC2, it is going to the pedal switcher, it's coming out of the pedal switcher to the OC2, and then it's leaving the pedal switcher. When I have nothing engaged in the switcher, it's like almost all of these pedals aren't even there. I have one labeled naughty. Everybody likes to get a little naughty. For the naughty switch, that is another set of an input and an output, so that if I want to put a pedal on that isn't on this board already, maybe a special pedal for just one show, or maybe we get sent a pedal for review that I want to check out, I can kind of put it in that loop without really affecting other things. After the pedal board switcher, I have my Union Tube and Transistor Lab compressor. This is my favorite compressor I've ever put on my board. Next, I hit kind of what this entire board has been centered around, the Jad Freer CAPO. The CAPO is a multi-saturator and an EQ, and it has lots of routing options inside it. This allowed me to be really flexible with my setup. It has a direct out that is totally clean before you go through all the saturation, EQ, and whatever. So I have an XLR out that it's in the CAPO, but it's before all the processing inside the CAPO. That allows me to have a second XLR out on this pedal board on the side jack that I use for maybe I'm in the studio and they only want to hear the tuner and the Noble, but I want to add a pedal for one song. I can move the XLR to the pre-CAPO selection. Then after that, I have a third XLR out, which, yes, this is super overkill at this point. I have another XLR out that I call Dirty, and that is a little bit of saturation from the CAPO. Sometimes it's some EQ, sometimes it's a little bit of overdrive from the B side of the CAPO, and then it goes out, and then it goes to my amp if I'm playing live, or, a different amp in the studio, or an XLR, whatever. I wanted my reverb to be not overdriven and a little cleaner. So the CAPO allows me to go out of it into this reverb, this Flint reverb and tremolo, and back in the CAPO without saturating it in the same way. Maybe you'd make a different choice. Maybe you just don't even want to use the loop of the CAPO and you want everything to be saturated. But I chose for the reverb to be cleaner so that it's kind of at the last part of the signal. And the CAPO has some really amazing routing features that let you do this. Moving back to the pedals that are attached to the switcher, we have the Small Sound, Big Sound Team Awesome Fuzz Machine pedal. It can be functioning as a gated fuzz, and usually I really like the gated fuzz thing. So it's really ferocious. I like it a lot. It has a mid boost on it that sometimes I use, and then it has a phase switch, and that phase switch allows you to pick which phase setting lets more low end through. This is a really great fuzz pedal if you ever find one. Next is a Boss OC2. this is an OG. It's the real one, or it's a real one. If you're in a big PA in the context of a mix, or really most recording sessions, is someone going to be able to tell the difference between your vintage OC2 and a new one? Probably not. Let's just be honest about that. Next is the Horrothia Type 1. It's a one knob chorus. It sounds really great. I use it from time to time, and I really like that inside it, there's an internal boost that you can use to make your signal louder. Next is the Creation Audio Grizzly bass. I use that as a light overdrive, sometimes a tone shaping thing. Right now, it's just like whatever I need. It's very different sounding than the Fuzz, and it's got overdrive and distortion, which are just two different flavors, whereas a Fuzz is just kind of like all out teeth. Overdrive can be smooth, distortion can be a little bit less smooth, and it's almost like levels of overdrive. Then finally, I have a clean boost. This is another Creation Audio pedal. It is just completely clean. It's your signal, but louder. Sometimes I use that to sauce up the signal a little bit, or if I'm honest, after I've sound checked or during a song later in our set, I might just hit it because I want to be louder. Sorry, don't tell front of house people that, but sometimes I just do. So I know this has been a little bit of a complex video, but just to recap on some of the sides, I'm coming in. After that, I have a amp out that's going at the very end of my signal. It's what I plug my amp into. Those are the only two things I need. But then as far as DIs and XLR stuff goes, I have a clean out that's just the Noble. Then I have a kind of in-between output that is the Noble, goes through all the circuitry, and then it comes out of the first DI of the capo. And then I have a dirty output that goes through everything here. And I use the dirty out 99.9% of the time, and it sounds really good. So I'm going to go through this and just play a little bit, and hopefully you like it. Okay, so here's kind of my standard roll-up tone, depending on, maybe I'm using a backlight rig, whatever. Here's my standard tone. I'm hitting the Noble, I am hitting the Union Tube and Transistor, and the Capo A side. All right, now I'm going to flip on the B side of the capo, which is kind of usually what I'm using in an in-ear situation or when I feel like the subtlety is appreciated. I'll just kind of go back how I'm feeling that day if I want to use the A side or the B side together. Yep, I like it. Now, let's go through some of the fun pedals. Here's the crazy amount of low end. It's almost going to sound like I'm clipping maybe. And you know what? Maybe I am, and that sounds fun. So here we go. Here's the OC2. Here's the Horrothia Type 1 chorus. I think I'm clipping that one a little bit. Maybe I should adjust that, but that's how it sounds. All right, I'm gonna just toggle the boost on. It's just my signal, but a little louder. Here we go. The beauty of a boost like this is that I am making my signal louder, but it's also hitting the capo a little harder. Here's the Grizzly bass for just a little bit of overdrive. If you notice with that one, I'm scooping some mids because I think it really helps when I'm playing with a pick to get a little bit less harshness and get a little bit more smoothness. So here's a pick. Just a little smoother. All right, when it's time to have some really aggressive fun, here's the Team Awesome Fuzz Machine. So I know you probably can't see me, but hope you enjoy this look at the pedal board. It's not perfect. I'm a touring musician. This is what I'm using right now. I tweak settings a lot. Another fun little bit is that we're using a True 1 power connector to come into the side. It's weather rated, it's really durable, and maybe you can find them in the back of a production area if something hits the fan and you've got to find that cable instead of it being too proprietary. And I also have a USB-C charger on this side, which I know is a little overkill, but if I'm using an iPad and charge or something, it's actually pretty clutch.